Awakening to Cosmic Chapter 1 posted on the 5th of May, 2021. Awakening to Cosmic, Mark Kimmel. Chapter 1. New Life. Bright sunshine awakened me. The clock on my dresser showed 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. I never sleep until 9. What's going on? I'm usually awake at 5. That's 4 hours more than my usual. Barely awake. I recall a powerful dream from last night in which I had died. Then I was awake, quite alive. Ghost-like individuals around me. I find this most unusual because I never remember my dreams. After visiting the bathroom, I climbed back into bed thinking my bladder had really cooperated since I had fallen asleep. The blinds on the east-facing window blocked most of the intense morning sunshine. To my right, a winter landscape painting with a ski trail and green pine trees beckoned me to come skiing. The dull pain in my right knee reminded me that it would no longer tolerate such. The mirror on the closed door reflected my sleepy image still nestled under the quilt. Realizing I should call my office to tell them I'd be late today, I picked up my iPhone and restarted it. I always shut it down before going to sleep, so I wouldn't be disturbed. I glanced at the iPhone time, just to be sure my clock was correct. The time read 9:06, but the day was Wednesday. I was sure that today was Tuesday. It made no sense. If it was Wednesday, meant I had slept 36 hours since going to bed on Monday evening. What happened to Tuesday? Had I lost an entire day? Impossible. I pulled my laptop computer from my briefcase. Opening it up, I saw the date was the same as on my iPhone. What was going on? I didn't recall stirring until I awakened just a few minutes ago. I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. I didn't look much different, maybe a little rumpled from sleeping so long, but otherwise no different. I called my assistant June Blackman and told her not to expect me for the rest of the day. Just take messages, I said, and hung up when she attempted to tell me about something going on at the office. I had to figure out what was going on with me before I showed up there. Still in my sleeping shorts, I wondered about the kitchen eating counter. It was attached to the center island. The countertop was plain granite. It matched the grey of the cabinets and the white tile floor. Everything was neatly organized, in its place and clean, just the way I had trained myself to do since the death of my second wife. There were plenty of eggs in the refrigerator for breakfast, also English muffins. However, I noted that I needed to replenish a few things. Still feeling uncertain about my lost day, I fixed myself 2 scrambled eggs and a muffin. When the hot water kettle boiled, I made a chai latte with plenty of sugar and milk. As I ate, I looked around. Nothing seemed out of place. I lived alone, had 2 grown children, a boy and a girl. My second wife had died 2 years ago from cancer. My first wife had not spoken to me since our divorce 13 years earlier. I was sure I was not ready to get connected with another woman. After showering, I drove to the grocery store. There I wandered among the huge selection of food and other things. Picking up cans and cartons, I was astonished at how many of them contained additives and chemicals. I knew these were not good for me. Previously, I had not paid attention to things like this, or where food came from. Today, I reasoned that it was probably from some corporate farm, like in California or Mexico. I settled on organic frozen meals, plus cheese, lettuce, eggs, bread, and milk. Returning to my house, I created a snack for these and from what was left in the refrigerator. I turned on the TV and watched 3 different channels with almost the same news, just a different talking head. I opened my business laptop computer and wondered about the internet. Again, more of the same. After an hour with different heads, I stumbled on a site that presented alternative news. The discussion was on politics, about which I cared little, but the woman commentator made some sense. After watching for a few minutes, I could see why so many people rejected her point of view as it was way off the mainstream. I shut down my computer. For the rest of the day I wondered about my house, took a drive around the neighborhood, and stopped at a shopping center to buy some new socks. Did anyone stop to consider where these had come from? Who had made them? How little they got paid? This was not my usual approach. Usually I just bought. Usually I did not have time to shop. I called my oldest child, Kevin, who lived in Loveland, a few miles away. We chatted for a short time. I asked him a few very general questions and listened while he went on about his work and family. Then I called my daughter, Victoria. The conversation immediately became involved because she sensed a difference in me. Worried, she demanded to come and visit. She lived in Santa Monica, California, hours away by plane. I put off for a couple of weeks. My next call was to a friend, Peter Lockwood, a chiropractor. I had known him for several years, knew his wife and 3 kids. He knew much of my history back to my second marriage. He and I went fly fishing. The best thing about him was that he had no connection to my work. We agreed to meet for coffee on Saturday. On Thursday morning, I drove to work. My vacant space was labeled reserved. The ultra-modern building, fronting Interstate 25, was 4 stories tall, all glass and polished metal. It had been newly constructed when we designed our offices. Grabbing my briefcase, I exited my Jeep Wrangler and strolled through the double doors of the building. Rather than ride the elevator, I traipsed up 1 floor on steps with a geometric design. I was aware that I was walking more casually, taking 1 step at a time versus my usual 2. Opening the door of Suite 201, I encountered a typical office foyer with large letters spelling out Technology Alliance Limited. We had designed the foyer to express our company's success. A large painting of a sparkling blue high-altitude lake surrounded by rugged peaks hung on the wall above a seating area to my right. I had selected it because it reminded me of hikes I had made in the high country of Colorado. Our receptionist, an attractive middle-aged brunette who had been with the company since its founding, greeted me from behind her counter. "Morning, Michael. How are you this morning?" "Quite good, Donna. Thank you," I replied as I walked by, passing closed doors for the offices of my 2 general partners, Jack Shapiro and Fred Feldman, and a hallway that led off to the offices of our other employees. I headed for my office at the end. The name on the door is Michael Garrison. Next to the door was a cherry wood desk and several low-file cabinets of the same color. A woman was leaning over a bottom file drawer, her back to me. "Morning, June." Startled, she jerked upward. June Blackman, attractive, long blonde hair, turned with a broad smile and in a familiar voice said, "About time you showed up. Enjoy your vacation this morning." She was dressed in a knee-length dark blue skirt with a yellow patterned blouse. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail. Before turning the door handle to the office, I set my briefcase on the floor and said, "Let's get some chai and you can tell me what I've missed out on." I followed her to the coffee room. "I can get it," she said over her shoulder. The room smelled of coffee and something sweet. An empty donut box sat on a side counter. I picked my mug from the cabinet and put in a chai tea bag, then added hot water and generous amounts of sugar and milk. June's eyes were wide, but she said nothing. This was the first time I could remember that I had come into the coffee room first thing in the morning. She had always brought chai to my office. Walking back to my office, we chatted about her family. She had a fourth-grade boy in school. He was doing well but had gotten into a fight with another boy and wound up in the principal's office. Her husband, a software engineer, worked from home while providing care for their baby girl. I told her that I had spent the past 2 days getting over a physical problem and left it at that. Passing the full-length glass panels of the empty conference room, I noticed that I was walking with a more relaxed stride, that my limp was not so pronounced. June snagged her